And we're gonna jump right into Clan Blitz here on Ship Shape. Can you tell us a little bit about these comps, Grace, as we open up here?
I First of all, we see a mini, which I feel like I haven't seen in millenniums, as well as a tri-stringer, tri-nouveau. We see those tetras as well on the side of Champlain. And we see a more standard-ish kind of comp here with the T-Tech, you know, Splash, Ballpoint, and Carbon.
Right, exactly. Already one goes down on the side of Champlain, Splatoon, Cerulean here. And a little bit of chaos right in mid as folks are going down left and right as Champagne Cerulean is being pushed back here.
Yeah, I mean, they already have this power clam. We see that Splash also themselves has 4 clams ready to go. They're pushing OU Academy back into their spawn, trying to kind of get a push here.
Right, exactly. You see this Carbon putting in a lot of work, sharking the ledges, and here comes the Dryzuka trying to help their teammates however they can, but to no avail. They're just stalling out the basket at this point until it finally pops through.
Yeah, and Champlain is really struggling here. I mean, it's a 2v2 now. They're kind of already in their base. That Ballpoint getting in a lot of clams, already pushing it down to 48 remaining, which is quite a pretty push right at the start here. I mean, we're not even 2 minutes in.
Right, exactly. This is a really good start for Champlain, for OU Academy in the blue here. Pardon me, folks. Really good start here as we're opening up the match a minute and a half in. And this is where Champagne Cerulean is looking to gain back their ground that they lost.
Yeah, and we kind of see here the Tetra's doing a lot of good work here this way, asking their teammates to kind of push up with them. We see the Wiper with that power clam, unfortunately kind of gets snuffed out. That was the tri-stringer, my bad. There's no Wiper even here, but they do get snuffed out. But the power clam still stays alive, but we do kind of see them pushing up in mid here, trying to maybe make a power clam of their own.
Right, exactly. Champlain is doing a good job utilizing whatever chip damage that they can to hold off OU Academy from getting any further. And you just see this ball just sitting in mid, and it's just a really awkward situation now for OU Academy B as one member goes down to these Trizukas here. Great shot from the Carbon as Champagne is looking to make their way back in.
Yeah, and we kind of see, I believe that is a tri-stringer on that kind of elbow, top right area, trying to make Champlain's push a little bit tougher here. We see that Whale as well coming out, and Champlain doesn't really have any clams here to make a push. That Carbon's the only one with any up.
Right, exactly. We're halfway into the match now, folks, and OU Academy has yet to make a push here. This is where they're going to have to really try to make an effort to convert their ground and make an effort to get some kills. And right as I say that, there's a wipeout! This is the push that OU Academy B needed!
Yeah, and OU really has to try and stagnate this push as much as they can. We see that cooler come up. They need some clams from mid. We see that try come in. They have those 3 clams ready. But unfortunately, now 6 clams. But I don't know if they're going to be able to score either. We see those Tetras kind of come in with that miss trying to help them. But they just couldn't make a push happen. I mean, Champlain's defense was really strong.
Right, exactly. Holding off here, OU Academy B I think someone was able to sneak in a clam right at the nick of time there. So OU Academy B was just able to sneak the lead in after being down for the count. And now this is a very awkward situation where the penalty points are really going to matter here for both of these teams.
Absolutely. I mean, both of them have a power clam up, but we see that OU Academy is the one with the most amount of clams here, and as well as getting 3 down on the side of Champlain. I mean, this is like the big break that they're looking for to try and make their lead a little more substantial, just to give them a bit of room to breathe.
The great play by the Zemi, putting on a lot of pressure and getting a 2-down situation. Here comes the Killer Whale, and here comes OU Academy B with that stamp. Here comes the ball flying in, breaking that barrier, and Champlain is in an awkward spot now as they go 3 down, make that a delayed wipe, and OU Academy is just tossing in those clams for free, and they are further sustaining their lead. Much greatly needed here. This is a very dangerous situation here, Grace.
Yeah, and even on that defense, I mean, they went 2 down. OU Academy was ready to keep scoring, but they just didn't have the clams quite yet. But we see them building up a lot of clams here, Mizuno. I mean, is OU Academy going to go for another push?
I can only imagine, I mean, if they're able to get it so easily. But this is where decision-making is going to come into play, and this is where OU Academy has that more competitive experience. Do they make the call to push, or do they make the call to stay back? This is where that will come into play.
Yeah, and we see that try here on the Greats trying to make something happen. I mean, they're the one with a lot of clams, but a lot of members of OU Academy have a lot of clams, but no power clam just yet. Trying to kind of keep the pressure up in mid. That crab's gonna pop though and totally alienate their teammates, but they go down to that stamp by Sam, and it's a full wipeout for OU Academy.
And with that, they toss in the ball just for the heck of it to seal the deal. And OU Academy B demonstrating and flexing their experience and are able to walk away with the first W of this set tonight. This is a very interesting game here, Grace, for me. This is very interesting.
And the quad see you later undulator, which may be the name of it, of that lovely emote. That was a really, really good showing from OU Academy. And like you said, I think a lot of that had to do with experience. I mean, this isn't the first time that they've been in the CCA league, let alone be in Div 5, I think. I mean, didn't they go like 3-2? I think they got third in their group overall. Was that season 2?
In season 3, that's right. So yeah,
No
the
way.
previous season, they were also sitting in Div 5 and finishing really well 3-2 in groups, just missing out missing out there. So a really strong performance from the previous season, and OU Academy is looking to further demonstrate that, hey, we don't belong in Div 5 anymore. We can actually punch up to the bigger guys, and we deserve to fight through it all. And this was a good start here, but we can't dismiss Champlain Cerulean here. Champlain had a really great start, and they looked really strong at the beginning there.
Yeah, and I was interested by both teams' comps a lot. I mean, specifically Champlain's as well. What do you think we're going to see here, though, going into Splat Zone's Barnacle and Dime, which I would say is pretty different than the last map mode that we saw?
Right, exactly. I'm wondering if we're gonna see a couple of switches here. I see Alto has previous experience with the E-Leader 4K Tri-Stringer. I'm wondering if they will opt to go a little bit more defensively versus a little bit more offensively that we have seen in the previous match.
Yeah, I mean, it can be kind of tough depending on what you want to do. Since I feel Barnacle and Dime is so lockout heavy, it can
Mhm.
be really, really tough to try and opt to stand your ground when you'd much rather just be in their spawn killing them.
Right, exactly. And it's gonna be whoever holds that spawn for whoever holds that spawn the best and stiffs arm their
Mhm.
opponent the best is going to be the one to successfully be able to hold on this zone and take this next game here, Grace.
Yeah, I'm very, very excited to see how they fare here. I feel like Splat Zones and Clamblitz are very, very different. And it could really go either way. I mean, the objective is literally just sitting there, and you have to go to it instead of it kind of coming to you and bringing the fight to you. So it can be kind of tough, especially if your opponent has a lot of paint and they're just painting over everything you're doing.
Right, exactly. And I don't know about you, Grace, but I feel like Barnacle and Dime, like you described earlier, how lockout heavy it is. I don't know about you, but I get really flustered very easily on this map because you have to be so effective and quick with breaking out of that lockout that I feel like if I don't do that successfully and we have to, start from scratch, it gets kind of messy and it's definitely hard to come back from.
Yeah, when it is so lockout heavy, I start to freak out really bad, and then I like drop into the pit with like that
Mm.
little pillow inflatable thing, and then we all die to like a Zuka or something, and then I get even more freaked out. And I feel like it's very prone to kind of stagger, like making your opponent stagger.
No, I agree. I'm hoping that to prevent that issue from happening, both of these teams will consider running cooler here, just because this is so lockout heavy, and I feel like this map is also really small and condensed. There's not a lot of places to move, so if you have to start from scratch, you at least have cooler to kind of bounce back in a way and kind of recuperate for the fact that you're not able to get out of that breakout in the first place.
Yeah, and I think that last match we did see OU Academy, I believe, unless it was both teams running a cooler, which you do see, it's very, very common. I mean, and I think that you're absolutely right that that's really going to be the key in helping kind of these teams break out of those really tough lockouts that Barnacle is really good at making their opponents kind of do.
Right, exactly. Game number 2 here as we're heading into Barnacle and Dime zones. Oh, wow, we see a switch up here, Grace.
A double sloshing machine on the side of OU Academy B. I flabbergasted Mizuno. I'm also a little horrified. I was not expecting that.
We do see the E-leader, though, on the side of Champlain. On the side of Champlain. Excuse me, not Champlain. This will be on the side of OU Academy B. Then they're starting off with capping the zone. First here, really good job here as Max as well is sloshing a lot of pressure and keeping the opponents of Champlain Cerulean back.
Yeah, and I mean, especially with that Hydra up, I mean, it's going to be like nearly impossible for. Oh, well, the Hydra's no longer. Hydra's no longer up, and only that sloshing machine on the side of OU Academy B. Unfortunately, they also go down. So a full wipeout for Champlain here. I mean, they took the words away from me. They took my breath away, Mizuno, and they're ready to lock out here.
I think Champlain Cerulean has found their answer to locking out that Hydra if it were to cause them any trouble from here on out. Just using that Zuka to just push them back and get them scrambling. And already they have taken the lead back as two have gone down. But they're holding this zone strong as just a little bit more as the members of Champlain are wisely trying to gauge and just zone out the members of OU Academy as much as possible without getting too greedy.
Yeah, and I mean, we see this mini kind of putting in work, trying to keep that zone painted. And OU Academy B is going to go 2 down, which is definitely going to help them. That bubble popping as well to try and eat that Booyah Bomb a little bit. But we kind of see a sloshing machine in the zone here trying to wreak some havoc. They do kind of get pushed back, and the other sloshing machine does go down.
Right, exactly. I mean, this is just great zoning teamwork on the side of Sam and Cyan, on the side of Champlain Cerulean. This is, I mean, this was the successful lockout effort here.
Yeah, I mean, every time OU Academy B kind of tried to come in, use some resources to come in, we saw Booyah Bombs popped. A lot of them because there were two sloshing machines. But it was just not really enough, especially when you start to kind of stagger with that lockout in place.
Right, exactly. Well, now here we go. That was a really solid match from Champlain there. They were able to. I mean, they found their answers really quickly and stealing it right out of our mouths. I mean, this is a really solid spot for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think I really wasn't expecting such backline weapons to come out from both teams. I feel like Hydra and E-Leader are like as backline as it gets. Like if you were to
Right.
rank them. So I was really, really surprised that we saw both of those. But they're just so good at holding their ground. And I think a lot of that lockout has to come from your backline. So major, major kudos to that E-Leader, which I believe was Alto, question mark, on the side of Champlain.
Right, and I think especially in this current meta, this current state of the types of compositions of weapons, you don't often see backlines as frequently because there's such the strong threat of Inkjet or Trizuka that it's like we saw in the match. Like one Trizuka shot will send a backline scrambling and potentially going down because they're often so static and situated into one spot. So it was very brave for both of those teams to run those backline weapons, and in the case of Champlain Cerulean, it paid off.
Yeah, I mean, and especially when there's two very dominant, like backline weapons on each opposing team, they kind of sometimes feel a bit of a pressure to kind of contest each other. But what I think is really powerful is having a Zuka, like we saw on the side of Champlain, where they just Zuka the Hydra on OU Academy B, and then your E-Leader doesn't have to worry about contesting that Hydra constantly.
Right, exactly. So now we'll be heading on to game 3 here. And before the feed disappeared for a second there, we were heading into TC Flounder Heights. And oh man, whenever I see this map, Grace, I don't know about you, but I get angry.
Like rage fills in you, or
I
like
okay, maybe not rage. Maybe that's a little strong. Maybe frustration because this is such a tricky map to work out sometimes, especially with callouts. And this is where I feel experience can really come into play here.
that is such a good point. I feel like whenever I'm getting locked out, which again, this is the name of the game this week apparently is Lockout City because this is I feel like Flounder Heights is a very lockout heavy map. I mean, the mid is the high ground, so that can be really tough to come back from, especially if there's like sloshers. But
Right, exactly. Oh my god, when I see more than two sloshers on the other side, I get frustrated. I'm like, all right, well, time to, toss the game away, toss the controller. We're done here.
everyone just like jumps off, like it's over.
It's all done. Well, I mean, we could see that happen. We genuinely could. I wouldn't be surprised. Both of these teams are capable of running sloshers, or on the side of Champlain Cerulean, I wouldn't be surprised if we also see some wipers because I feel like wipers can go kind of
Mm,
crazy here.
that is very, very true. I feel like it can be very scrappy when you're trying to fight for mid because as soon as you lose mid, you're like it's over. It's over. So you get like really antsy about those fights for control over mid specifically, I feel like on Flounder. And we do see the E-leader stick here, which I'm very interested to see. And we don't see any buckets, but instead a vanilla roller on the side of OU Academy B.
That's a saucy pick, and I'm here for it. Well, game number 3 here. Champlain up 2-0 in this set, folks. I want to make that very clear, apparently. On already, Champlain is taking this tower and running through it. But man, like you pointed out, Grace, this vanilla splat roll is already putting in the work and getting 2 members down of Champlain.
A really, really good opening here from their roller. I mean, we were just talking about how interesting of a pick it was, and I mean, they're already putting in work. The blaster is going to go down on the side of Champlain, and 2 members, I think that was to a bomb on the wall that the gal put down, go down on OU Academy B, but this roller is just going to keep pushing.
I mean, might as well take advantage, get a little bit of points on the board. And here is Tanner here, sharking, looking to maybe sneak a peek here on Jupi here on the dualies. It's going to get zoned out, called out, and canceled out by Champlain. Really good teamwork there on the side of Champlain University to sniff that out.
And rollers can just be so devastating if gone uncalled out. So again, really, really good play from them there. We see them kind of try and take mid back, but they do unfortunately go 2 members down. I mean, we see the blaster going to pick on the ball point, which is so crucial to getting that kind of range back in your favor. But they are going to go down to Nona here on the gal.
I was gonna say Champlain picking that blaster is also a really good play here. There's a lot of little moments like that where you're able to just peek through and kind of catch people by surprise. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, OU Academy has blasted through their first checkpoint and just wrapped up their second here, Grace. And it's all thanks to Tanner on the roller here.
Yeah, I mean, we see that E-leader almost colliding them there, but Nona is going to stay strong on the tower with that wall. I mean, they're a fearsome foe. Especially with the high ground as well, like on Flounder, with all of these checkpoints, they get wiped completely by Champlain. I think that is such a crucial wipe here. I mean, this can be the start of them turning around this game.
I agree, and as you point that out, Grace, I see a lot of Champlain moving in fast. You see Cyan on the blaster here already in their opponent's street. Oh, but then you might have done this a bit too early as 2 of their teammates go down, and a Cyan also goes down with them thanks to Tanner and Quibble here. So that's so unfortunate. They had such a good wipe, and they were able to hopefully capitalize on that situation, but OU Academy was just able to just flip that onto their heads.
Yeah, and Cyan again is going to go down here to that ball point. We see that leader being the only one left, the strong soldier trying to stop that tower, having to end up backing up. Hopefully they can try and get a snipe there, but with that big bubble up, it looks unlikely.
OU Academy is blazing through the check there. Down to 12, it's just the ballpoint and roller versus the E-leader. E-leader against the world here. And just with 2 members down, it's looking kind of tough, but they are just unable to stop it from going any further. And OU Academy takes their first game in the set officially.
Yeah, I mean, that was such a dominant push, I feel like. I feel like they never quite got the advantage. Champlain, I mean. They never quite had the advantage the whole game, which can be really, really tough, especially because we've been talking about lockout, 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 especially on Flounder Heights. I mean, I the only thing I could have said there was maybe that they just kind of need to play more of like an amoeba where you're like kind of together like a big bubble, trying to kind of help each other get picks because you can get called out real easy if you're going for like a solo flank or like something of the sort.
Oh man, that's such a great point. And I mean, that was just a really good demonstration there of OU Academy's experience. They were able to work so well and so succinctly together. And also, again, Tanner on the roller, that came as such a surprise to us, and it worked out so effectively. I keep forgetting that roller has bubble as our whatever it's called, like as a special, and that's surprisingly effective on tower. So I mean, that was just a great pick.
Yeah, I think they really knew what they were doing there, especially because it was Tower. I mean, Bubble's not getting a lot of love recently, and listen, I play Splattershot Junior, so I know how it is. But I think for Roller specifically, it's kind of like you bubble up and then you sit in there, and if they want to contest you, which they do on Tower, they have to like step into your ring, and nobody wants to step into the Roller's ring, Mizuno.
No, agreed. I feel like I fall to that trap way too many
Yeah.
a time, honestly. Well, point said, Grace, we're moving on to game number 4, and that's gonna be, oh yikes, Rainmaker Undertow Spillway. I feel like this one could just completely flip on its head in an instant.
Yeah, I mean, it can be really, really tough, I feel, to kind of defend because you do have that high ground, but they can just keep dodging your bombs, and then eventually they pick you off with like a Zuka, a Jet, like a Kraken, a Hammer, and then they just kind of get the next checkpoint and eventually the pedestal for free.
I think whichever team plays us the most patiently to push that left side checkpoint is probably going to win it out. I feel like from what I've seen in experience, if you play it patiently enough, instead of trying to continuously shove it whenever you can through that checkpoint, you'll be more successful in trying to make the Rainmaker go as far as it can, since there's so narrow paths in this route.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking of narrow, I am interested to see if we do kind of see that wiper pick to try and get some hammers out. No, is that a is that double roller? is that big swing? What is that?
OU Academy, I'm here for it. Rocket. What an interesting start for both of these teams. One member ties the pop on the side of OU Academy. Both of these teams are just trading picks at this point, and somehow OU Academy comes up on top somehow, and they're quickly swinging this over to this left side checkpoint as expected.
What a G move there. I think that was from the ballpoint. They were just walking over there. They were like, all of my teammates are dead, just gonna keep going. And we see OU Academy B kind of trying to keep up that mid control. They do get another one down, though unfortunately on the side of OU Academy B. Nona as well goes down. It's just that big swig and that Carbon together, the dream team, trying to keep those checkpoints at bay.
But they were successful outright somehow, just able to stall it long enough. But they do go down, and it's just a T-Tech left to recover and recoup what it is. They also easily and quickly go down as Champlain storms into their first checkpoint, and they have a couple of advantages here to try to get this Rainmaker even further.
Yeah, and I mean, that pop is being contested. Unfortunately, those Tetris do go down to that pop, and that big swing's just gonna pick it up and say, all right, y'all, stay with me. My other roller friend, you've got to support me here. And they're gonna try and reclaim it here, getting 2 picks. I mean, that right checkpoint is free. If they do want to go for it, they do not like me, Mizuno. They're gonna go for that left checkpoint with the help of Tanner on the roller.
They just steal everything that comes out of your mouth, Grace. These teams just outright disrespecting you.
This is very upsetting.
All jokes aside here, this is where OU Academy takes the lead and guns it for that slick. They're able to get the lead and a few more points, and here comes the Carbon and Nona jumping in, ready, lurching forward to grab this Rainmaker for whatever points they can, and finally getting it to that 20-point marker.
And 20 points remaining is so huge on this map, I feel. I mean, if you have all of those defensive tools with all those specials, you're playing it patient, I mean, it can be impossible to push any further than that if that's the lead that you have to get past Mizuno.
Well said, Grace, especially getting it mostly through that slick area. That's always the toughest. So this is a really good position here for OU Academy B here, as they've also put Cerulean in an awkward spot here. Thankfully, they do go 2 down here, so Champlain has a little bit more to rue, but how much time do they have here? Not much.
And they're kind of opting to go for this left checkpoint over here. I mean, that big swig is down. They think it's going to be free. The Carbon does end up going down, who is one of their biggest foes to be sharking around there. That cooler is going to pop, and they don't have to go through that checkpoint, Mizuno. So this could be a really devastating push. But they only have 10 seconds left on that Rainmaker timer. I mean, they're about to blow up. Listen, Sam, you got to run away from your teammate here. They're about to blow up. They're trying to run away from them. No! No.
They didn't listen to you again!
No! This is devastating, Mizuno.
Devastating. Both of these teams are not listening to the commentators. But man, both of these teams are going crazy here as specials are popping left and right as they are jousting for this Rainmaker here and doing whatever they can to hold their ground. And here comes that nasty Carbon putting on tons of pressure, but just backs off narrowly as they're getting some pressure and some pain on them.
When they're 2 down going into this push here, another one down being the Rainmaker. We see this Carbon trying to put in work by themselves, getting a pick, which is amazing. We see they're trying to camp that jump, and they're unsuccessful in getting that pick there. And I mean, Champlain has control right now. They just gotta get some more mid control, gotta get some more paint on the ground. And the gal unfortunately goes down as I say that. Mizuno, oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh, I that's all I could say too. And here's Cyan on the bucket holding onto this Rainmaker, thankfully having teammates by their side as they're guiding them through. But they gotta be watching out for this Carbon here sharking that ledge, and they just don't see it and go down to it. This is a really bad spot for Champlain as they try desperately to toss everything at it, including the Breed Slider, including the trips, but to no avail.
And we see these Tetris here on the slick this way, telling their teammates to come with them. And the Rainmaker opts to go on to the Grace, which is such an amazing workaround to go on that uninkable like we were talking about before, Mizuno. But they do go down. But their teammates are there to try and get that pop. Can they do it?
No, they are just not able to left. This is desperate plays here from both of these sides as they're trying desperately to get the pop and the kills. They are fighting for their lives, and they grab it. Cerulean grabs it. They're just unable to follow it through, and with just not enough time for another chance, OU Academy is just barely able to hold them off, and just at the nick of time, we're able to clutch that game.
I think that was such a great spur of the moment decision from Champlain to try and push it onto that little graded area. I mean, getting it past that uninkable would have been impossible with all of, or even 2 members of OU Academy up. But once you go down in that position, I mean, it is just so impossible to get the Rainmaker back from the opponent's clutches.
Right, and we were commenting earlier how OU Academy B, like, oh, their lead is safe. Like, 20 is pretty good. But you saw how close Champlain was to actually just running away with that match. It came down to the wire there, and whoever was able to get the pop and who was able to make the best judgment call to hold them off.
Yes, and going back to OU Academy B's push where they got to 20 remaining, they had a sort of failed push right before that, where I think the Rainmaker died either on the uninkable or right before the uninkable. So imagine if they had just been like, okay, we can't push it anymore, we have to leave it there. They would have lost the lead there.
Oh, that's such a good point. I mean, there's so many hypotheticals that could go into that match alone, just of how closely competitive this is. Like, it's insane. Like, this set is 2-2 now, Grace. Like, this is very competitive, and I feel like this game is going to determine, potentially, in the long run, which one of these 2 strong teams might or might not make playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this happens a lot where we're watching these matches like in the groups of like Ludi, CCA, a lot of these kind of league events, and we're like, this could be grands. Like, we're like, this is so close. This is so competitive, neck and neck. Like, I'm on the edge of my seat. And it's so much fun to commentate. But Mizuno, oh my goodness, oh my golly gosh. Game 5, Clamblitz Mako Mart. What are you
Hey, I'm
thinking?
down. I'm down for more games, but when it's Mako Mart, oh man, this is gonna be saucy. This is again, you commented earlier, clamps. It is such a team synergy heavy mode, and
Mhm.
if I recall correctly, Champlain took that first game. So we have to be wary that OU Academy, while they're on a hot streak right now, winning the previous 2 games, Champlain has technically the edge on them in terms of map modes at this point for clams.
Yeah, and I mean, going into that, I feel like OU Academy B is either going to be like, oh my gosh, like they're like quivering a little, or they're like, no, we know what we did wrong. We learned from our mistakes, and we're ready to come back stronger. And I mean, judging by the fact that none of them have readied up yet, I feel like they're conspiring. They're like mixing their big pot of stew, and they're like, what should we do? Ooh.
Oh, like some boiling concoction that's brewing. Oh, perfect in time for Halloween. Oh, they're cooking. Well, Grace, as we open up to game number 5 here, let's see what these teams are cooking in the kitchen.
Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. The double machine comes out again, which was quite successful a little bit for that Splat Zone's Barnacle and Dime game that we just watched. And I mean, we're going to see that kind of similar comp coming out from Champlain as well.
Right, exactly. I think that was a really good call here because sloshing machines are so good at putting pressure on these stacks that I feel like it's just a very easy pick to make. And I feel like OU Academy here is going to have a slight edge on it. Nonetheless, though, it looks like Champlain is ready to go. They have a ball. They are about to have cooler. They are going for these stacks, looking to get two kills out of nowhere, and they are looking to start slowly inching their way forward and take more ground.
I think that 2-down situation could have been really, really devastating for OU Academy B, but the 2 remaining members, which I believe was one of the sloshing machines and that ballpoint, really stood their ground. Excellent job from OU Academy B there. I mean, getting 2 down on your stack as well can just be devastating.
Right, and it's really unfortunate that Champlain wasn't able to capitalize on that fully. And great plays from OU Academy to stay defensive and able to kind of recoup their losses there. It looks like Champlain's going to take attempt number 2 as we see both the cooler and the whale pop off, and Cyan is going in on this try once again, looking to take a pick on Max as well, and Joss able to get one, looking to find the other, but is not successful and just drives them away. Here comes Alto jumping in with the ball, and pop goes that barrier as Champlain takes the lead.
And that tries up under the basket, but that ballpoint sniffs them out. Really excellent job from the side of OU Academy B. They were really banking on that try, kind of opening up that space for them, and they only pushed to 71 remaining with that push there, Mizuno.
Right, that's not a completely safe push as we've seen earlier. So nothing for them to shake off their shoulders. OU Academy is still good to go. Nonetheless, they're still going to be on their toes because it can easily go 2 down again, and Champlain might realize, oh, this might be our moment to strike. Nonetheless, OU Academy is holding onto their ball, and Maxwell pops a booyah, and here comes the members of OU Academy B.
Yeah, I mean, we see that unfortunately that ball goes right under their basket, but Nona does not care. Rushes in there as that sloshing machine here, but unfortunately gets snuffed out by the tri-slosher, who's opting to kind of push up here, get some more clams, and just kind of play it where offense is your best defense.
Right, exactly. At least they got some points on the board, but they're going to need a few more clams in that basket to push through that lead barrier that they have. Nonetheless, we're sitting in a bit of a neutral situation as both teams are kind of scoping it out, trying to get picks one by one, charging specials, getting ready. We see here this ballpoint on the side of OU Academy sitting on that inkjet, and both of these teams are looking to just waiting until the tension just snaps.
Yeah, I mean, we see that whale kind of popping out, and I appreciate Champlain's approach here as to being a little bit cautious, not quite going into mid, not quite pushing their stacks yet, and rather than waiting for an opportunity for them to push into Champlain so that they can get the upper hand.
Right, exactly. And I think that patience is pulling off because one member of OU Academy goes down after utilizing a booyah here. And we're looking to see a 2v1 fight here That is lost! Oh my
What?
gosh, Cyan coming in clutch and winning that 2v1 is huge, and Champlain is just moving in on OU Academy spawn, and they are just tossing in clams freely.
The one thing you do not want to see while you're defending is a tri-slasher up in your spawn with that cooler active. And I mean, we saw it there that really enabled their teammates to completely push up and get it down to 33 remaining. OU Academy B trying to kind of get control back on their stack, trying to make a power clamp and to hopefully get a push happen.
Oh, wait, that looked like that someone was a lingering member behind on the side of Champlain there, and they tried to make a frisky jump, but again, to no avail. Nona caught that out really well. Nonetheless, OU Academy is trying to get situated again. They had 2 specials online, recouping their members. They have just enough for a ball and pity. So they have a lot of points to potentially put down the board. Oh, Grace, this is devastating for Champlain. They are 3 down now after a couple of really good picks, and this might be OU's time to strike.
Yeah, but it looks like they missed that power clam up there. We see the Dapples trying to kind of swish around, maybe try and get that power clam back, but it just looks like it's going to be fruitless and that power clam despawns.
Oh, that's tough, and I believe that was their pity too, because now they don't have enough clams for a ball as 3 members go down and make that a delayed wipe with that sloshing machine also falling there to the stringer. And here comes Cyan breaking that barrier, hopefully to prevent OU Academy from getting more clams and slowing down their overtime.
Yeah, I mean, that was really, really well done by Champlain. I feel like they knew exactly when to kind of let OU Academy push into them. They knew when to stay patient. They were like, we got these weapons that can win these fights if they push us. So we just kind of have to play it safe and don't get too cocky.
Right, exactly. I feel like the double sloshing machine play could have worked though. I think it was just I'm not sure, to be honest. I think maybe it's because the booyahs are so static. They're not very dynamic
Hmm.
as specials. You're kind of a sitting duck in one place, and you kind of have to time it with other specials really well to make it most effective. And when you have one other booyah and a couple other specials that don't really cater to it, it might be a little bit tougher to use.
Yeah, I think that's a really good hypothesis, if that's the right that's the right vocab word for it. I feel like Booyah Bomb doesn't get as much love nowadays now that we see like these more Inkjet and Zuka and sometimes Hammer, which we saw earlier this set, kind of comps where you can't really, like you said, change directions. Like you just kind of have to sit there. And if you throw it somewhere and it doesn't have any use, that's kind of it.
Yeah, that's my running theory, is the use of it, and it's tough to make the best use out of it in the most effective way.
Hmm.
And I feel like that's where, unfortunately, Booyah, as much as I love it dearly, it's just it can fall a little short sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, and I personally find Mako and Manta to have a few similarities here. So, what do you think we're going to see from both teams, comp wise, strategy wise, going into Splat Zone's Manta Maria?
Okay, so both of these teams last time, when we were in a zones match, they were running Hydra and E leader. And granted, that was Barnacle, but also granted, it was Hydra and E leader. So I'm not quite sure if they're going to bring out backlines here, because I feel like Manta, unless you have like scoped E leader and Hydra sitting on bunker, it might be tough to utilize to its fullest potential.
Mm, yeah, I think in Manta you can kind of get stuck in a lot of places, which might lend yourself well to booyahs. Like for example, you get stuck in the street, the bunker,
Mm.
that like left right plat kind of area after you drop off like from around your spawn in your pit. But I think it can be kind of tough, especially if you're aiming to kill them consistently, which I think Zuka and Jet are really good at.
Right, exactly. And as we're heading here, Grace, into game 6, we have to keep in mind Champlain here is at game point. So they if they play their cards right here, they could be walking away with this set and be sitting 2-0 in their groups.
That would be very impressive. Especially because they're going up against the huge veteran here. OU Academy B, like we talked about before, has played in the last 2 seasons. So
Mhm.
we see the big swing come back. What a way to make a comeback here. And we see a mini, we see the Tri Nouveau, Tetras, Tri Stringer, pretty much what they've kind of been running on the side of Champlain. And again, a similar comp out of OU Academy B as well.
I mean, hey, if it sticks, if it fits, why not make it work? And we have to keep in mind, this is a double zone situation here for this map. So this will be a very interesting tug of war that we'll kind of see here in mid. And that being said, with only a couple points on the board, Champlain is able to take the lead as two members of OU Academy go down, and Champlain is just swarming into their street now. I believe I see Cyan on the try already in their street.
Yeah, and I mean, we risked a little bit past that Mizuno, but Cyan got an opening double at the start there, which
Oh,
again just
Lord.
goes to show that Tri-Slosher is so dominant here, I feel. I mean, as soon as you realize that they're there in your bunker, in your street, you're already down, and we see that ballpoint go down on the side of OU Academy B, but they do sniff out Cyan, getting that Tri-Slosher down, seeing that it's their biggest foe here, and just trying to get them out of the way.
Right, this is a great comeback from OU Academy B as they're able to take both of the zones back to stop Champlain from generating any more points. On the side of Champlain, Alto on that stringer jumps out safely, which is a very good call, an attempt to regroup their efforts as they're able to take one member down of OU Academy B.
Yeah, and we see that Reef Slider come out. Oh my gosh, getting basically 3 down on the side again on OU Academy B. We see that cooler pop as well. The gals trying to hold their ground, but they get 2v1 right out of their plat. I mean, that penalty's ticking down, and OU Academy B only has a few different routes to try and go to try and get their lead.
What a great play from Droopy and Cyan working together, and Droopy getting like 2 or 3 picks off of that Reef Slider Tetris combo there. Great teamwork, great efforts, and Champlain has already charged through their penalty points, and all of a sudden, there's only a handful of points left for OU Academy to prevent here.
Yeah, and we see them all kind of sitting around in their bunker to try and get control back as it's such an advantageous position, but that try pinches them, pushing them into their teammates. Amazing play by Champlain again. I mean, they're really coordinated here in killing the members of OU Academy B.
What a great point, Grace. And here we're sitting with Champlain back with control of the zone, and OU Academy just can't find a grip at the moment. It looks like they're just getting 1 or 2 members down at the most prime moments where they need to go for the zone or when they feel advantageous enough. And Grace, I think that's a very delayed wipe there.
The pressure is on right now, Mizuno. I mean, OU Academy B realizes that it's match point here. They're getting a little bit antsy. They're trying to push in by themselves. We see those Dapples, unfortunately, going down to that Tri-Slosher, that ballpoint trying to also get them out of their street, but they cannot make it to the zone in time, Mizuno. And Champlain just completely takes Black Zone's Mana Maria.
And they not only that, they also take the set. Champlain Splatoon Cerulean out of Champlain College in good old Vermont is going to take their second set in week 2 of the CCA League. And man, what a really strong competitive set that was.
Yeah, and I mean, the quad undulator really puts it in, really seals the deal for me, Mizuno. But on a more serious note, I mean, it can be really tough when you kind of have that daunting match point happening. I mean, you just lost the last one. You see that the try gets an early, like we talked about before, that early double right at the start of the match, Mizuno. I mean, it's kind of a battle against your mental to try and win this.
No, agreed. And mental goes is such a huge aspect of league formats in Splatoon, just because it's so, like you said, it's very daunting. It looms over you, and it's incredibly
Hmm.
tough to kind of work through and break through mentally. And that mental barrier is just sometimes really difficult to overcome. And that's something where experience could definitely come into play here with that.
Yeah, I mean, huge shout out to Champlain. I mean, we saw that Cyan, their Tri-Slosher player, was the one who was wreaking a lot of havoc those last 2 matches since they were such good try maps. And they were the one that got third overall in study abroad. So that kind of experience in, poking and prodding at your opponents really helps.
No, agreed, and not to dismiss OU Academy's efforts. OU Academy's experience in the CCA is wide, and they just continue to grow and develop, and just continue to demonstrate their experience, and they're not going to go down without a fight. This can easily be just the one loss that they take in in this group stage, and we could be seeing them very easily heading into playoffs with again their experience and how much they've grown in just the past couple seasons alone.
Yeah, and very interesting comps from them as well. I feel like when you kind of use these very interesting combinations of weapons, like we saw the double sloshing machine, which we didn't expect, I believe they were the side with the Hydra as well. I mean, unpredictability can go a really, really long way. I mean, we see that in top level play where they hide their comps from their upcoming opponents because they want to get the jump on them and do something that they're not going to expect.
Remember the big swig carbon? That was awesome.
You're so right. Yes.
That was such a cool call. I love that for them. No, that was so cool. That makes me so happy. And I hope OU Academy continues to flourish with those different types of combinations because I don't care if they're not meta. It worked and it's fun. So I hope they also take that in consideration, but I'm also biased.
I am also very biased against off meta comps and like fun comps where everybody's just playing what they want to play and playing what they feel happy and comfortable on. I think that that at the end of the day will win you more than it will win you if you're running like quad Zuka, like something something like that.
A Grace, a shining opinion as always, never wrong, must listen to,
Oh
bow
wow.
down.
Oh wow. Oh my gosh.
Well, man, Grace, this has been a pleasure, but we unfortunately have to get going soon at starting at 8 p.m. Eastern tonight, right after this set that's just finished. We'll be seeing a Division 1 matchup between PSU Blue and the Common Blasters. So, a really exciting matchup ahead with DRF and Cygnus on the mic. So, Grace, where can the good folks find you?
Well, you can find me many a times in the swimmer sink help desk trying not to rip my hair out if anybody's ever mean, because I don't think you should be mean. That makes me sad. But you can find me more normally and regularly on Twitter at Tubnug, which is TUBNUG. You can also find me on Blue Sky, the other one, the other app. But Mizuno, where can the lovely people find you?
Folks, y'all can find me on Twitter at MIZU_N0. I am not on Blue Sky yet, so shh, that's
Okay.
on the back burner. But if
Okay.
not, if you can't find me there, you can also just find me commentating here on CCA_Splatoon. So follow that as well. And folks, we're just about done here. So don't go away. Grab a snack, grab some water. You guys are going to be in for a very interesting match here.
Yes, a Div
Stay
1 match.
Stay tuned, folks. You do not want to miss this.